If you want to be able to buy the most expensive players and open the best packs in FC24, go to u7buy.com to buy your EA FC24 coins. It's cheaper than buying FC points and just as reliable. With their already amazing prices, you can get an extra 6% using promo code Inception at checkout. Okay guys, so we just finished the review for the European midfielders. So now we're going to check out the COPA midfielders. If I make mistakes when I check out some of these cards, I apologize. It's because you can put these cards into the attacker ones. You know what I'm saying? Like there's the midfielder ones and then there's the attacker ones. So just be very mindful of that. So I always have to be vigilant when it comes to looking at the specific play styles that these cards are actually given, right? Because a lot of the times you don't actually see those specific details that you need to see, right? So this one is the COPA midfielders. So we're going to go ahead and see what the options are here. COPA midfielders is not on Footbin? No. So it's going to be on the Wiz. Is it going to be on the Wiz? Let's see. The COPA midfielders, yep. Okay. Okay, so yet another one where you can put the attackers into it. You can put the attackers into it. Okay. So this one I don't think is going to be like as interesting to people as the European one. Because a few things to mention with this one. Is this like really the only selections? Like it's just this guy? Really? I guess so. Let me just check my Discord real quick. Oh yeah, it is. Word. So what is it, like 3-4 cards and then you have attackers that you can use into it too? Okay, so listen. A very important thing to mention when it comes down to these evolution improvements, okay? Look into the specific card that you're potentially upgrading for base characteristics. The reason why I'm saying this, right, is because Casemiro is a trending card. But in my opinion, the playstyle pluses that you get for this card don't make a lot of sense for him, right? That makes more sense for some of those other options that I've seen, right? With Casemiro, what I would honestly do is I would wait for the defensive evolution, because if we're getting an attacker one and we're getting a midfielder one, I'm assuming we're going to get a defensive one too. So if the defensive one drops and the two playstyle pluses make more sense for that, go in that direction instead. Because with a card like this, right, you give him a shadow, mostly lengthy player, right? Really good pace, defensive stats significantly increased. I don't care if it's like +1s and 2s. You guys know I'm always going to improve these cards a certain way, right? But this card needs more defensive playstyles. If you look at his base playstyles, he does have a bruiser, he does have a slide tackle, does have a jockey, but there's no anticipate, there's no intercept, and we don't know if the defensive version of this evolution will have those things as playstyle pluses. So I would wait to put this card into this one. I probably wouldn't do it myself because, like I said, those playstyle pluses that he's being given, it makes more sense for like an actual attacker, in my opinion, right? So with Casemiro, I would just hold on to the card. Don't put him into it yet. Check out what the defensive positions are for the new evolution if that ends up coming out, and then go from there. I think with Casemiro, it doesn't make a lot of sense with the playstyle pluses. So yeah, next up we have is the cards that might be more relevant to actually give the stuff to, right? So this card, Buonanotte. No idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but with this card, he gets some significant improvements, more so in the weak foot department, right? It does turn into a weak-footed person that has, I'm being stupid right now, a person that has the 5-star weak foot while being left-footed, right? High medium work rates, 5'9". Base card stats for pace is already set up very nicely. So it actually allows you to go into a different, not necessarily. I would still probably give him a finisher, actually. Yeah, I'd probably still give him a finisher. Increases dribbling to be as high as possible. What about the Maestro? What does the Maestro do here? Yeah, it's interesting with this one, right? Because giving him a Maestro would not be like a horrible decision, but like 93 for finishing, like by default, it makes me want to give him like a sniper for like a more drastic boost in the physical and shooting department, right? Because a sniper would give him a better aggression, a better strength, the shooting would be improved and the shot power specifically, but not the finishing, right? So that's where it's like, oh, you know, maybe I still got to give him a finisher, because at the end of the day, they still gave him good base card stats for pace, which is obviously a big deal. Playstyle pluses make more sense for a card like this, especially if you are building some sort of like Brighton team. With this card, he gets the quick step plus, the first touch plus, and the technical plus, right? So a couple of changes there for the Copa midfielders, right? Other playstyles that he has is chip shot, tiki taka, rapid trickster, whipped crosser, relentless, and the jockey, right? So to be fair, I mean, you could technically use a card like this in the side positions too. I don't think he'd be horrible in those areas. So if you're playing like right attacking mid, left attacking mid, I think he'd be fine in those areas too, because he still has a couple of decent playstyles. But yeah, it'd probably make more sense to go down this direction than it did for Casemiro. But it's also a card that has jumping and heading accuracy. No aerial, though. Very important to mention. Aerial is a very big playstyle when it comes to really being able to jump. But yeah, it looks like a sentimental card on this one for what looks to be a young player. I'm assuming he's a young player. But yeah. Next up we have is another Argentinian players, Alcaraz, right? So with this card turns into a 4-star, 5-star player. I think with cards like this, you could actually potentially look in a different direction as well. Like with cards like this, honestly, it wouldn't be a completely horrible decision to put it into the attackers as well, with the power shot plus and the technical plus. Like, it's not completely horrible if you want to go down that route, especially since, you know, base card stats for shooting is in a significantly better area compared to the Copa midfielders one that gets a defensive boost, right? So that's like the key things. It's like small differences here and there, but it also depends on the play styles that you want, right? Because it's a matter of whether or not you want a card like this to have the press proven, right? So that's always a very huge variable to work with, because this card is a person that can be a 5-star, 5-star player with a different evolution. And remember that playstyles, he's given a press proven as well. So it makes him extra responsive as an actual attacker, because with the midfielder one, right, they're giving defensive boost to these cards, right? Which makes them like maybe proper cards to use in like the center mid area in a 4-3-2-1 and stuff. But it's a very similar situation to the card that we were just looking at before, like this card right here. Like, you wouldn't be wrong to go in the direction of giving him the attacker one instead of the midfield one, especially if you want a card who is more responsive and has a 5-star, 5-star capability, because the play styles that he's given is still decent, right? It's the 5-star, 5-star capability, obviously going to be a really big deal to work with. So these are the types of options that you have. As of right now, I'm not seeing too many clear and obvious, like, oh, I want to put this into a midfielder evolution type of player, right? Like, to be fair, they might release defenders where it actually makes you want to do that, like give them more like midfield oriented stuff, especially with the defensive boost being like a little bit bigger to work with as well, right? But yeah, regardless, still looks like an interesting choice if you go down that route as well. But you can also go down the route with the attackers too, with that one too, right? So Lozano also another selection here, so it doesn't turn him into a 5-star, 5-star, removes the press proven on the card, right? Lozano gets a first touch plus, a quick step plus, and a Trivela plus, all good play styles for him to work with on a general basis. But he's no longer a 5-star, 5-star player, while also being someone who does not have the press proven as he would with the attacker one, right? But also another variable to consider is that with the attacker one, it does give him a different thing here, which is the technical plus and the power shot. And to be honest, technical plus with a press proven while being 5-star, 5-star, it seems more relevant, I would say, right? Definitely seems more more relevant to work with, right? So yeah, the midfielder ones, like I said, I'm not seeing too many super clear and obvious ones, because with cards like Icardi and Richarlison, like, sure, we can look into these cards, right? But I just think that the playstyle pluses are, I mean, unless you like to use the physical type attackers, because to be fair, quick step is something that people like to use a lot, especially after they use that garbage step over acceleration, right? That's going to be like the big thing to work with, is that quick step plus. But it's, as I mentioned, right? I think for general build up play, general play style, I think that this version is probably going to be better, especially in Richarlison's case and Icardi's case, to be honest, because again, they're given press proven, they're more physical oriented attackers that will still feel more responsive in game. And I think that's going to be like a really key thing, right? But yeah, so far for this specific evolution, I'm not seeing a lot of crazy choices for the most part. I think the attacker one definitely looked a little bit more interesting than this one for sure. Copa America does not show up. I guess we could search for like specific cards here. It's funny because there were some cards that you would put into a different evolution like before on that Future Stars one that actually made sense in a different evolution entirely. But with this one, it kind of seems like most of the times, not all the times, because there are some that you put in the attack evolution that actually make sense, but most of the times the playstyles they're given for the respective position that they play in, it kind of makes the most sense too. So yeah, probably not as super interesting as the European one. Be sure to be very mindful of which cards you can play where, right? I think it's going to be very, very important. When I was first initially looking at the transfer market, I thought some of these guys are going to be like the evolution choices. I'm like, oh my goodness, like these look like crazy cards, especially McAllister. But yeah, they didn't end up being some of the cards that could potentially be good. But these are the completed evolutions, available evolved players, right? The same stuff, obviously, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys haven't checked out the content today, we did release a player review for Javi Simmons, as well as the video that people are mostly going to be looking at, which is going to be the European midfielders for the most part. So yeah, other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video today. I will catch you guys for the next one. Hopefully the content this week is better for the SBC stuff, because the last like 2-3 days for last week were pretty boring for the most part. But yeah, I'll see you guys for those videos. Peace out, dudes. Love you guys.